First Holmes was born, then he got fat, bald, and tired. Sup, Holmes?
Beware your host, Jonathan Holmes.
Thank you so much, Sinistar. You scared me. You're not adorable. You're not a charmer, Sinistar. You are abrasive and difficult. You could be the exact opposite of Cristina Vee, who I was just talking to before the show. Hi, Cristina. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. People are watching us.
Yeah, you seem so... Are you often this effervescent and jovial? Because that's the feeling I get from you all.
Effervescent? Can you please use that word in a sentence?
Sure. The sparkling soda I drank at the gala was filled with a bubbling effervescence that filled me with glee. Yeah.
You know, I'm usually pretty happy unless I'm not, and then in that case you better run because it gets kind of scary. Oh.
I bet. You're a very well-known voice actress and singer, and live-action acting as well, from what I can tell. You've done all things. What did you start doing these kinds of things, and what got you interested in it?
You know, when I was a kid, I was very much the nerdy kind of keep to myself, drawing in my sketchbook and reading books instead of partying kind of girl, and I found anime, and that was actually something that helped me become more comfortable talking to other people, because people with similar interests. And I really wanted to be a voiceover actor before I can remember. So I got started actually doing things online, finding radio plays and dubs like that. And I got my start at Anime Expo, where they heard my voice, they liked what I was doing, and they asked me to audition for them.
Awesome. What were some of the anime that got you into the idea of voice acting and anime in role?
Sailor Moon, I think, was a really big one when I was a kid. And Pokemon actually was pretty big for me, too, in 6th grade. And Samurai Pizza Cats were the only ones I basically had access to at that time.
That is amazing. You're a part of the new generation of actors and actresses who have been inspired to get into the industry by the Samurai Pizza Cats.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And you've done a lot of acting for games as well. Were you playing a lot of video games at that time, or is that something that kind of grew out of the interest in acting for anime?
You know, my brother was he always had the game system, so I would play with him like Sonic and Bubsy. I don't know if anybody remembers Bubsy. And
sure.
Yeah. But a really fun memory for me was hanging out with my cousins in Arizona playing Street Fighter on SNES, and that was just amazing. It was so much fun. We'd play for hours and hours.
And there was acting in Street Fighter 2 on the SNES, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the fact that you are the Chun-Li of a new generation? You've done Tekken, you've done Skullgirls, you directed all of the acting on Skullgirls. People are quipping your battle catchphrases mid-fight, just like I used to go, "Defeat Don King!" Whatever Chun-Li was saying back then. That you're the person who's bringing that to people now. How's that experience been?
It is pretty surreal. A lot of the time, I really can't think about it that way because when I'm working, it's very much, you have to be in that kind of mindset that you're focused on the character. But there are definitely moments playing a game when it comes out for the first time, or sharing news with my friends, my boyfriend, that I got this big role, and also seeing the fans' interactions at conventions. It's just amazing. It's really surreal.
Is it different than you imagined it would be in some ways, or is it pretty much how you thought it would be?
I never really imagined everything else that came with the voice acting, the recognition and feedback. So it's all pretty just surprising and interesting for me. And actually, I think in this era that we're in right now with Twitter and the internet being such a big thing that it is, I don't think any other voice actors before this generation has had access to the fans so easily.
Yeah, absolutely. I've interacted with Eric Stewart on a couple of occasions.
Okay, yeah.
Voice acted. Have you met Eric before?
I have once, very briefly. Where was it? It was last year, I think in Alabama.
Okay. Just bumped into him?
No, we were at a convention together.
Oh, that makes more sense. Yeah. I got him to act as Brock in a cartoon I was doing called Teenage Pokemon.
Nice.
And I was shocked. Yeah, it was a score. I was grateful for him being willing to do it, to be Brock no less.
Yeah.
But I was surprised by how, like, I checked how many Twitter followers he had and how big of a name he was at the time, because there was negotiations about how much we could pay him.
Yeah.
And he wasn't, so many people know him and love him.
Yeah.
But he hasn't found that kind of internet fame that a lot of voice actors and actresses have, where it seems like you seem to have quite a following as well, as I could tell. When you say the internet and how you've used the internet as something to do with that?
Definitely. Before I started getting known for my voice acting roles, during the time when I was doing all the small bit parts like Walla and incidental characters, I started posting songs to YouTube, and those songs became pretty popular. The first video I posted on YouTube, it was Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, one of the songs for it, and I dubbed it in English, and I don't think many other people were doing that at that time. So it got 3 million views almost overnight. It was amazing. That's also when, So I think that really helped. I still keep a following on my YouTube. I think I have almost 50,000 followers there. I just hit 18,000 Twitter followers today, so yay! I'm excited. And I think part of that is also because of my work with IGN on the tournaments for League of Legends. After I started doing those tournaments, my Twitter followers just kept shooting up, so I just got really lucky to do things like that.
Absolutely. But you were tenacious, it sounds like. You didn't get there right away. And imagine. Yeah. Tell us about that process. How long did it take before you got to the point where you feel like you had gotten there, and what did it take to get there?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. I first started when I was 16. I got my first audition, which is unheard of, really. Nobody starts, well, I mean, some people do, but not many people start that young. And from there, I wasn't expecting it, because like I said, I didn't really think about everything else that comes with being a voice actor. I just wanted to do it. And I didn't get any big parts until I was maybe 20 when I first landed BlazBlue. And even from that point on, oh my God, it's been such a journey. And I think that this year, 2013, has been a year for the first time when I have consistently worked. And it's been about 9 years since I started. And there are periods of downtime. There were months when I wouldn't get any jobs. And there are definitely those moments when you wonder if you're cut out for this or if you can survive doing this stuff. But, for me, there's really not any other option but to keep going forward with my voiceover. So, soon enough, this year, it just came unexpectedly. I just kept booking part after part, lead roles with different studios around town that I hadn't yet worked with. And it just seems to be really coming together this year.
That's awesome. So happy to hear it. What do you think it takes to impress someone or get the part? How much do you think, do they just go by your voice, or do you think they go by your voice and your personality? Do you think they weigh in your physical appearance? Do they weigh in how much you're willing to go to events? What do you think they look at when they're looking for an actress?
Mainly, if they just hear your voice, you go and audition at the studio. But I think when you're the first part is getting into that studio, because they don't send out auditions all the time. They work with people that they know. So I think your first audition with them is kind of auditioning with the studio, and they want to know that you're somebody who's trustworthy, fun to work with, kind, serious, and that you have the chops, because you need to belt out those lines fast. And but when it comes to the clients who hear the auditions, it's really just your voice. So what's important is to make a story out of the lines that they give you. Show them all the ranges of emotions that you can within those lines, and that knowledge has helped me book so many parts.
Huh.
But
So I'm sorry, if you could explain that in further detail, that's really interesting to me in terms of, because you'll get like a 5-word line, like, you can't take that.
uh-huh.
Like, how do you turn that into, how do you expand upon that and give that range and give that possibilities?
When my audition process is, I'll look at the side that they give me, and it'll have the character name and a description about them. For example, I just booked a role the description was a tsundere character. And I think I booked it because I was probably the only actress who knows what that is. And so I knew from that description and the picture how her voice should sound. And they gave me just a bunch of lines with no direction, maybe 5 or 6. And I just went through every line and try to piece it together the best that I could, but I made sure that in one that she really had that tsundere quality, the angry yet holding it back, but really cutesy quality. And it's really all about practice. You know what I mean? It takes time to really learn how to audition well, which is another skill that you really have to learn, is to audition. Mm-hmm. But
and you've done work. You've done things on your own. How do you find your own process when you're working for yourself and you've done some acting? Uh-huh. You can do it so many different ways. How do you know when you have it just right, or do you end up second-guessing yourself and never knowing for sure if you got it perfect?
I don't think that I'm ever 100% satisfied with the performance, but when you get it right, it doesn't feel like you're working at all. Does that make sense? It just kind
Absolutely.
it just kind of happens, and you have to trust the director as well, that he's gonna, because he knows where the story is going, he knows where your character needs to be. So it's really about trust in that regard too. You really want to have an idea of what the character is, but if the director wants it changed, you have to be able to change on a whim. No arguing with the director, anything like that, nothing like that. You just give them what they want, and it's really up to them too to piece it all together in a way that makes sense to the story. But you also said something. Yeah, you said something about the wanting to appear. I did an anime called Madoka, and they wanted us to send in headshots and resumes and asked if we can appear at events for that show. So that was what I think maybe one of 2 times that physical appearance, I guess, was maybe taken into account a little bit, and personality, because they want you to be able to want to interact with fans.
Sure. Yeah, we're at this era now. We're far beyond the Barry Burton Resident Evil 1 era of video game acting. Mm-hmm. We're in this new era where video game actors and actresses are becoming celebrities in their own right a lot of the time. Our old contributor Ashley Birch, I saw her and she was signing autographs all over the place at PAX not that long.
Yeah.
As just being an actress. So did you ever think it would come to that, though? Because you grew up in an era when the voice actors and actresses, at least in video games, were relatively unknown. So did you envision yourself in a place where you were going to be famous for this?
Oh, not at all. Definitely not at all. It's so surprising. In fact, the other day we were walking down the street just outside the house, and we stopped in front of a library because I heard some guy, he said something but very low, and he was just kind of staring at me. And he was staring for maybe a few moments. He was just like, and I was like, "Hi, can I help you?" And he's like, No, I thought you were someone else. And he like scurried away. I'm like, oh. But things like that will happen occasionally when you're just randomly browsing in Target. And I think it's also because I live in LA, and I visit a lot of comic shops and things like that. So it's pretty surreal. And I mean, I just feel so honored to be able to do the voices for characters, because in the end, it's really just a small part of somebody's dream. You know what I mean? You have the person who created the story, and the person who designed the characters, and the person who wrote the script, and everything's coming all together, and you're just the last part of it. And to be that, to have a small part in this huge process in video games and animation it's really something. You know, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Thanks.
You mentioned before that oftentimes the studios stick with people that they know or maybe friends with them. I think I think the actors for Resident Evil 1 a lot of them were just like the mailroom guy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We lost them from this, from that to what we have now. But even now, how would you suggest to people who wanted to get into voice acting, how would they go about forming that relationship with the studio in order to maintain work with them?
My process was, I came from no money, no acting experience at first. I had no friends in the industry. And what it was just really persevering and believing despite, I'm sure you've seen some, like we were talking about earlier, that there are some people are going to hate you no matter what because you're creating art, and it's so subjective the way you put it. But it's really believing in yourself and also developing as a person, figuring out, because it's so this industry is so emotional. You have to be so in tune with your emotional life. So it's really good to have your ducks in a row and just being really cool with everybody you meet, treating everybody with respect. And I'm telling you, if you have that, if you work on your craft constantly, you're going to start meeting people, and those people are going to know this person, and they're going to hear your voice on YouTube, and they're going to hear your voice from this game. Or the director that on this game is going to pull you into another studio and recommend you to other people. So it's not impossible. And really, I tell people this, but if I can do it, then really anybody who has the passion and drive, I'm telling you, I've seen amazing things happen with my friends who didn't think that they could make anything happen. But it's not easy.
It's a matter of rolling. No, I'd imagine it's I'd imagine if you didn't truly love it, you would end up doing something else. Were there any other jobs you ever considered doing instead?
Nope.
Did you ever get to a point when you're like, even at your most, when you're like, oh no, like, and I doubt you considered it for very long, but when, the bills were coming in, you weren't getting the work, I'd assume this was before you were 20, in that 16 to 20 range. Was there anything else you ever thought you would do instead?
Even this year, I've had moments, well, I can remember one in particular where I just thought, man, I really suck at this. What am I doing with my life? This is not going to pan out for me. And that lasted, and in the end, it's like the way you know that you're supposed to be doing this is even if we hit that point, 15 minutes later you say, nope, I'm going to make this work. I am good enough. This is going to pan out for me. And I booked so many more parts after feeling that way. So it really is just about perseverance and knowing who you are and knowing who you want. Not who you want, what you want.
In your case, it sounds like you have a way of generating passion around this job and around this culture that just keeps coming back to you. Where do you think that passion comes from? Do you think you'll ever grow out of it? Do you ever see yourself in a day when you're like, those cartoons and video games, them's for the kids. I'm busy doing Meryl Streep type stuff now. Sorry.
Oh, I think that it really comes from what it gave to me as a kid. Like I said, I was really shy, and I turned to anime and video games so I know the feelings it can generate and the hope it can bring, and just now seeing it as the art form it is, and seeing the passion that everybody puts into their roles, director, creator, artists, designers. It's just something it's so cool to be a part of. It's such an awesome process, and it really is something that comes from the heart. So, and seeing, like I said, going to conventions too, it just kind of resets me to a place where I know that it's worth it and I know I'm doing something right. So seeing the fans, seeing the culture, seeing all of the love that really comes into this. And also just remembering how far I've come and the journey I've already made in my life is something that really helps me to continue, because I don't know, I'm in such a completely different place than when I started out. And that's from growing up and getting roles and just going through all this stuff and still being here is really, I think, saying something, and that gives me confidence to know that I've succeeded in something, and that as long as I keep wanting it, then I can keep doing it.
I've got a cat now. Sorry. I was listening to you, but he started to scratch me and knock over the set.
Well, I have a cat too.
What's your cat's name?
Ouijo. Mine is evil too, don't worry.
That makes me feel better. Have you ever given thought to what your dream roles would be? What kind of either characters who exist or don't exist, things that are games or are not yet games? If you could do anything, what would you like to do? Is there something like that?
I really want to switch over to, well, not switch completely, but I want to do more original animation, things that end up on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, and I would love to be in a film from Disney. So that's the goal one day, is to do these bigger jobs for these companies.
You've come pretty close. You did the singing on the Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal Our Garbage?
Yes.
Game, which I loved, by the way.
Thank you.
Jake Kaufman, I think, composed
Jake Kaufman did, and James Montana asked me to be in it without telling me. He already submitted my YouTube song clips to Cartoon Network without even meeting me. This is so awesome. And he's like, hey, do you want to be in this game? Yes. Sure. That sounds amazing.
So you know Pendleton Ward has heard you sing before.
Yes. I've met him.
Neat. Have you met? Oh, what was he like?
He was shy like me.
You're shy? Are you sure you're shy?
Well, I can be. I can be pretty shy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, maybe not shy, maybe just more introverted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. But you get energy from being around other people. You certainly seem considerate. Sometimes considerate people don't say a whole lot because they want to listen. But when it's time to talk, it seems like you have the capacity to do that as well.
We're also talking about something I really, really love. That might be it.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. And you're directing, or we talked a little bit about you directing the voice acting on Skullgirls. What was that like for you to turn it around and be the one who decides what takes to use and to tell your actors and actresses how to go about it? What was that experience like?
Well, it was actually really eye-opening because, being behind on the other side of the situation, when they ask for takes, it's nothing personal. Or when you don't get the role, it's really because of something small and minor in the other person's voice that just made them match the character that much more. So getting to guide my friends through the process, people that became my friends too by directing them, it was really something different, and actually I felt a little more comfortable in the director's chair than I thought I would, even though at first I didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. I just knew what I wanted to hear from the actor, and so I would guide them in the way that I knew how. And it was good that we have amazing actors that know what they're doing in the booth, so they made my job so much more easier. And of course, seeing the game grow from the alpha stages to now, after the huge Indiegogo campaign and the tournaments, and it's just been really cool. Yeah,
I've been a big fan of Skullgirls from the start. I think the first version of it I played had one, maybe two characters tops, and that was Mike Z showing it off at PAX years and years ago.
Yeah.
And since you had Mariel Cartwright on the show as well, she was such a pleasure to meet and so passionate about what she does.
Yeah.
So you seem like a perfect fit for that particular group. Maybe we could, just off the cuff, I'm suddenly wondering what it would be like if you were directing me in a game.
Oh.
And I was trying out for a part, and I had to do some takes.
Yes.
Would you want to try to do a fake me auditioning for a thing, and you can tell me if I'm good? Or maybe show me how to do it better? Okay,
we can do that. Do you have any sides on you? Here, I think I have some. If you give me a... Sides are what they call the audition copy.
Oh, yeah? I was just going to make it up. But if you have some, you should definitely take some. That's
you know what? I'll send you something. Just
talking.
I need one second. I'm going to email you something. But I have to get to my Dropbox first.
And you sing really well, too.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I've driven that home well enough. Your Snake Eater theme.
Thank you so much.
I love the original Snake Eater theme, but you made some small decisions to change the emphasis and the tone in certain places, especially around the tree frog area. That I really enjoyed a lot. So thank you for doing that. Do you plan on continuing to do that as well? To sing and act and direct?
Yeah, I mean, luckily I've been able to do some singing more professionally, but I definitely, when the urge hits, I don't hold back. I do post to YouTube when I can. I have so many sides. Let's see, what do I want to give you? What kind of characters do you play in your cartoons?
Oh, I play all the characters. There's 12 or 14. We're just doing a new one now. Yeah, it's you probably know how it is. You feel sad when people tell you it's terrible and that it would be better if someone else did it. But then some people say it's great. It's got a lot of swears in it, and yet 8-year-olds really like it, which makes me feel like I'm corrupting the youth. Makes me feel a little guilty. Yeah, it's okay. Is it nice? Maybe it is. Yeah. Oh, and I was also going to ask when you started singing, too, because that's not a natural outgrowth from acting, necessarily. Is that something you had done when you were growing up as well?
The first time I really sang was when I started posting to YouTube. And so for that reason, I didn't really have any traditional singing. So now that I'm actually getting trained in that regard, I have a lot of bad habits. So I definitely recommend, if you're going to do that route, that you get some professional coaching too, because it'll make it a lot easier in the future to fix those habits. But I mean, also part of that is I think that it's what makes my voice, if that makes sense. Mm. But I do want to correct those habits so I don't lose my voice. But I definitely recommend. And plus, my singing has developed so much more since I've gotten actual lessons. I'm looking for your email.
Vibrato in range. It's Jonathan@Destructoid.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun. What is it?
As you gain technical skill, do you feel like you're at risk of losing some of the things that make you unique?
I think that's always kind of a fear in the back of my head, because people, when people say, "Oh, you sound just like this actress," or that's Cristina, it sounds like this actor. Part of me is like, no, don't say that. Destructoid.
But I would assume as you gain more range, you have the ability to sound like more different people, and to sound like different types of people, so you would end up potentially losing the steadiness of the unique Cristina sound. As long as you can bring it back whenever you want it.
I found also that as my voice develops, it becomes more open and more crisp. And like I said, I've only booked more and more jobs. Mm-hmm. But it is definitely right that you should, because I have a couple of speech patterns too that aren't very specific to Southern California, and it's specific to my family. That those are things that I've had to work on, because sometimes it doesn't match a character, or they want something more regal sounding. So it's really important to know what your voice does, and to know, oh, they don't want that, well, I can give them this instead. So yeah, they're definitely should get training, because it's so amazing. And I've sent you some sides.
Okay, I'll wait for them. I haven't seen them yet. I have 2 questions. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we can do them both. I shouldn't ask 2 in a row, but sometimes if I don't, I'll forget them. Did you get typecast a lot growing up?
Oh yeah.
We'll just start with that one then. Yeah. What were you typecast as when you were starting up?
I was typecast as the girl with the really high-pitched voice. The little girls. And that's not something that I feel I do particularly well. Definitely not as well as other actors, but for a long time that's all I was cast as, because that's all they knew I could do. So I was doing that for a while until I finally broke out of that.
So interesting that you would say that you don't feel you do it particularly well. That speaks to the idea that you know what should be done differently, and yet you're still not doing it. Acting is interesting in that part of it is physical and part of it is mental. Mm-hmm. A great tennis player can watch another tennis player play and be like, oh, I know what they're doing. I know I want to do that when I play next. Mm-hmm. But then when they get out on the court, their body just doesn't listen to them and doesn't do what they ask it to do. So is that how it is for you when you hear an actress doing a role you feel like she's doing a better job at than you would, that she just physically has it, or improvises, or comes up with things on the spot that are better than you could think of, or is it that, or what is it? Yeah.
I'm a big believer that the voices that are cast in anime and video games should be close to the natural speaking voice, because they just come out better when you're not thinking about keeping that voice, and then all the acting on top of that. So, and for me, I mean, I can do the younger girls, but when it comes to the high pitch, I can hear the strain in my voice, and it is also a mental thing, because maybe it's fine, maybe and obviously they're casting me for that for a reason. So, but yeah, I feel more comfortable when I'm speaking in my normal voice or in tones around there.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, one of the I never want to use my normal voice ever, and that's what I noticed. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. It doesn't sound believable. But I'm also playing a bunch of Pokemon, which normally talk like Venusaur, so I'm like, that's fine. But it's all a matter of opinion, I suppose. So the second question I was going to ask is, when you're listening to other people's acting, or just anything in general, do you find yourself getting caught up and losing your ability to take in the whole game or the whole cartoon?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're so focused on like the sound quality or the particular choices the actors made? Does that get distracting?
Yes, it really does. I can hear when an actor is nervous or when they're not sure about their choice, and it really is distracting. And it's not something that everybody can pick out, but it's just because I've done that before when I was nervous. And yeah, so I have to watch my anime subtitle these days, but even then I'm still kind of thinking about the voice acting. But it's not because I don't like dubs, it's just it becomes work. I get in that work mentality of kind of directing it in my mind, casting it in my mind. So it's interesting. For example,
I'm sorry, yes, please.
Oh, we're playing Rad right now on PS2.
You're playing Rad?
Rad. You know what that is?
Rad?
Yeah.
It's
Robot Alchemic Drive.
No, tell me about Rad.
It's supposed to be an amazing game about robots, but it's very much in the early days of voice acting. It sounds really like they got people around the office to do the voices. So they take everything very literally, like the screams would be Kia and Wah, and just things like that. It makes it hard for me to even concentrate on, if I'm reading a book in the other room and I hear the sounds of just, no, don't do it that way. So, yeah.
Yeah, that must be very distracting. Do you have favorites? It's hard to pick just some people.
Favorite voice actors.
You to pick your very favorite voice actors and actresses, but are there some that just come to mind right now that you think are particularly skilled, that you respect?
Tara Strong, Kate Higgins, Erin Fitzgerald, Wendy Lee, Colleen O'Shaughnessy. These are all women. Tom Kenny, Steve Bloom, of course. I think he was one of the best. Yeah, but
I'm trying to remember Steve Bloom's roles. I should know them. I'm feeling a little embarrassed.
He's Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. He's the voice of Tom in Toonami. He was Amon in Korra Season 1. He's Wolverine. Oh. That's his big one, Wolverine.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
And he manages to sound a little different with those roles, but it still sounds natural a lot of
Yes.
It's like he's naturally interesting.
Yes.
He's kind of got like the same way like an actor would have like an interesting looking face and you just want to look at it. That's how his voice is. Yeah.
He's a really sweet person. All those people I named too are very rounded people who have stuck or who are in there for the long run, and that's something else that I've respect about them, is the ability to have a career out of this field for so long. Yeah.
And is there a culture around it? Do you all get together and hang out and feel a camaraderie in this challenge you're in together, which is to get by in acting without being able to rely? I mean, a lot of actors are basically just models who talk, but you guys have to rely really strictly on your technique and your sound and your creative decisions you make in the moment with the lines. Does that cause you to feel very competitive and cutthroat against other voice actors and actresses, or is it more camaraderie?
I feel like there are many different groups of people who hang out together. I feel like the people I just named are kind of in one group, And I feel like I tend to hang out more with the people who are more around my age who have the same amount of experience. I guess maybe because we have that in common. But I definitely have hung out with other people. I don't want to make it sound like there are cliques, because there aren't. But my best friend Christine is, she's new too, and she's one of the people who we get compared with constantly. So part of us is this kind of like this competition, but on the other hand, there's room for everybody, and we're all constantly cast side by side in projects over and over again. But at the same time, it's still there is that competitive edge, especially when you're going into an audition. It's like, all right, you're my friend, I'm gonna get this role. This is mine.
I'd imagine it's your lifeblood. It's your ability to go on and eat, and it's also assessing yourself as to whether you're able to do this job. And with something like acting, it's so subjective.
Yes.
It's so hard to know that you're actually doing it right. Accounting would have been so much easier, you know? You would have just put numbers on the page.
Yeah, actually, I got a tweet today that surprised me because I announced a role that I have in Sword Art Online, and he said, "No, you're just doing it for the money." I was like, no. First off, I'm not even going to tell you how much I got paid for that job. Second, I would have become a doctor. I did really well in school, and if I really wanted a paycheck, maybe I would have just married rich or become a lawyer or something. When you're an artist, you're not in it for the money, especially voice acting. You're in it because you love it. Mm-hmm. So.
And what was the role you announced?
Alicia in Sword Art Online. It's
And people thought you did that just for the money for some reason?
Well, just one guy. That's why I was so surprised, because everybody's really, you know how that is, like positive, negative. Oh gosh. So yeah, and usually I try to ignore it, but that one I was like, no, I worked too hard. It's not for the money. So I don't usually respond to anything. So yeah.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, but you're getting to the point now where people are going to assume you are rich and famous and getting these roles that you're only doing because you want to keep your fame and stardom and your paycheck bouncing. Yeah.
No, that's not it.
They knew. Yeah, the real world is so different from that. I didn't get those things you were going to send me, by the way.
Oh, okay. Let me try to send again.
Okay, while you do, I will ask you about League of Legends.
Yeah.
About that whole process, because that is, it's such an interesting game in that it doesn't get talked about. There's like no marketing on TV. It doesn't get talked about on game blogs all that much, I don't think. And yet it's like one of the biggest games in the world, and there's a huge following and a huge passionate group of people who now, every time you talk, they think one thing. And in the comments of this story, Chris Carter, our reviews editor, mentioned that he heard a story about you ordering food from a fast food restaurant as Riven. Is that right?
Oh no, I didn't order it as Riven, but I think I've mentioned a little bit before. I did some hosting for the tournaments for League of Legends, and it had hundreds of thousands of viewers. And so suddenly I had a face to my voice, which is, again, it's very rare. But I went to the drive-thru, I ordered my regular voice, and then it was kind of like the same stare that the guy at the library gave me, just kind of like like, are you Riven? Yes. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. When you auditioned for that role, did you know that League of Legends was that big or going to be that big?
I had no idea.
Yeah, tell me about that process when you got that job and how you went about it.
It was just another audition for me. I'd auditioned for this game 5 times before then. And this character, I read the description, and she's very emotional and antsy and angsty, and I thought nobody can do emotional angsty like I can. So I just submitted, and they liked the read I did, and I recorded everything all in one session, and the guys from Riot were really cool. But even after the character was released, I noticed that I got more comments on that character than any other one I had, but it wasn't until I showed up at the tournament when I saw, this huge room in Las Vegas sold out, and heard the numbers coming in from the stream, that I realized that I was really in something huge. So, yeah. And in fact, we're reading in the newspaper today an article about something, and it was talking about League of Legends, how it has 32 million unique players each month. And it's just, I don't know, part of me feels like I shouldn't be nervous about anything because I'm already in the biggest video game. But then, that's just part of my psyching out process. Like, yeah, I can do anything.
Well, you have. I don't know if it gets much bigger than 32 million. I mean, geez, Call of Duty sold something like 25 million or something, the latest one.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of huge movies don't have 32 million people watching them.
Yeah, and that's really each month. So it's really cool. Yeah. So I'm really grateful for that role. I'm sorry, what did you say?
It's only getting... Oh, nothing good. Thanks for asking. I still haven't got that email. I don't know. Maybe we should give up on it and not... Yeah?
Well, why don't you make up lines?
All right. So here's the... I'm going to be both the producer and then I'm going to audition as an actor to you, the director.
Okay.
So the role is a... I'll cheat and do one I already do all the time. A unintentionally sarcastic sounding old man.
Okay.
So he can't help but sound sarcastic, even when he doesn't mean to. And I'll do three versions of it.
Wait.
The first is... Yeah?
What game is this for?
It's for a game you are making called the Cristina Vee story, How I Became
Beat up an old man.
And I'm going to be the old man who you came to him at the library and said, I'm going to be in this new game called League of Legends. And you wanted him to be supportive of you, but instead he said, oh, League of Legends? That sounds really original. And you were downhearted. You felt so depressed because he sounds so sarcastic, but he can't help it because his voice is so weak.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it turns out that he was packing some heat, and he was just mad at me, and I just felt like it was my civic duty to take this guy out. So the next scene is me beating you up.
How would Riven go about beating up the unintentionally sarcastic sounding old man?
It would probably be a kick to the gut first, which sounds like...
Oh, I gotta act it.
Yep.
Oh, my body! Yes! How am I doing for acting for you?
You know what? It sounds like, what's his name from The Simpsons? The old man. Grandpa.
That's the thing about it. I've been doing that voice for a long time. And then I found out it is just a generic old man voice. Because Lady Rainicorn, when she puts on a voice changer in one of the first episodes of Adventure Time, she sounds just like that. Grandpa Simpson sounds like that. I think there's a character on Family Guy that sounds like that. So if I were to try to audition with that voice, would I just have to be doomed to the fact that people would think it sounds like something they've already heard?
You know what? They won't care as long as, and even the people auditioning you won't care because everybody can come in doing the same voice. But if you give the read, if you do the acting even just a little bit better, you're going to book the part over everybody else. And it is a good old man voice. So yeah, it's really all about the acting. Yeah. So the particular decisions I make and how well what I'm doing fits that exact design for that character is what would determine if I get the job, hopefully. Definitely.
Hope. I think so many people think, oh, I could be a voice actor because I can talk and I like cartoons. I can do it, and you've, from what you've said earlier on this episode, you feel like they could do it too as long as they persevere. But are there things that you think people should look out for to really detect if they have what it takes to make it? Like, you've been very supportive towards me, but at the same time, kind of generic old man voice that might hold me back. What are some things people could look at to see how good their chances are of making it as voice actor or actress?
You know, there's definitely, if you get feedback, I mean, if you do workshops, you're going to have to get your things out there first to know if you've got it or not. But really pay attention, not to people commenting on YouTube, but if you're in a casting session with some guy from Disney and he says, you know what, you have a really good voice and keep at it, then you should take that to heart. But on the other hand, if because I've seen this happen, they're just like, you know what, you really need to work on your read. Nobody's going to say right out that, yeah, you're not workable, because I don't think that's true. It just means that you need to work on it. And it takes a lot of training. So if you're serious about voice acting, you need to become an actor first. And that's been said over and over again, but it's so true because like you said, so many people maybe sound kind of similar to what you just did. So it really boils down to the acting. Yeah.
And in your opinion, and this is a big question, maybe unanswerable, but I'll try it anyway. What even is acting? Some people take it as, oh, I'm just going to pretend I'm feeling something. Other people say, I don't want to pretend. I'm going to kind of plan it out note for note, almost like I'm singing. And I'm just going to hit the notes in my read of speech in a way that I think emotes the right feelings. So there's so many different ways of going about it. What do you make of it?
For me, acting, and this is how I've been taught, and it's really changed everything for me. It's really how you're making the other person feel, if that makes sense. So that's why I'm saying, why I said you have to kind of make out the scene. Who are you talking to? How close are they to you? What do you want in the scene? And how are you going to make them give it to you? So really, instead of thinking about yourself, which I mean you have to, because your pitch and your tone and how you sound, you do have to hit those notes. But the most important thing is knowing what the dialogue means underneath the words, if that makes sense. Finding the subtext and everything, and pushing that to try to make the other person feel something else. And that's really how the emotions come across, is really kind of like the selfless thinking, trying to get the other person to react. And it's really, that's what you do in real life, if that makes sense. You're thinking you're thinking about what you want this person to think of you, or things like that. So that's really my take on acting. Improv is also really good to take as well.
What are the benefits of improv, you think, for an actor or actress?
It's really getting you out of your head. If you're a person like me who used to get really nervous, it really teaches you how to use that energy. And also, it kind of releases that inhibitor that you have on yourself, and makes you explore things that you maybe wouldn't have explored before. And also, some directors really they'll ask you to add a line in, or what would your character say in this situation? So it's really something that's important to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would imagine that in order to be natural and to really try to make someone feel something that you're feeling in the moment, improvising it might help a little bit, whereas reading a script, you can really get lost in your own head and not be sure exactly the way to evoke that idea until the point where you lose the original feeling and you're not even sure what the words mean anymore. I'd imagine when you're memorizing something, that can be a problem, where you are so close to it you can't see it anymore.
Also, in video game voice acting, you don't see the script at all.
Oh.
You have it on an Excel sheet. Yeah, it's a different kind of art than stage or theater. I think that's why it's really more important for improvers when it comes to a voice acting, because you have the script as you see it, and you'll have 2 or 3 good takes, but that's all you have time for. Then they got to move on. So you have to be fast. You have to be a really good cold reader, which means acting something that you're reading as you go along, if that makes sense.
Have you ever had a role that when the game came out, or the cartoon came out, you were upset about what takes they used? Did you ever feel like you did better takes that they didn't apply, and then that ended up making you look bad in the process?
There was one game in particular where they used a take that I messed up. That it was obviously like a blooper take, but I think it was just an accident. But I don't think anybody really noticed except for me. It just kind of, I don't know. Maybe they have. Other times it just comes out funny. So.
I am so tempted to know what that game is. Maybe you'll tell me later. You maybe don't want to say in front of everybody.
Yeah, I don't want to.
That's of you. And you're also working on Are you working? Actually, I should clarify. You're doing the singing for Shantae Half Genie Hero. Are you doing anything else for that game as well?
As of right now, I haven't heard any other news since we recorded the singing, but I'm really crossing my fingers that if they do incorporate voice acting, that they'll have me audition for a few of the roles. Because, they're really great to work with. I love working with Way Forward, and I'm really excited about this game, so hopefully they'll consider me if they're casting for future stuff for that game. But I am working on
I'm sure if they could... Oh, yes?
I'm working on other Way Forward projects that I can't talk about. So...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I always want to know what they're working on. You know, they teased me for years. You may know this. Years ago, it feels like years ago. Maybe it was only last year. No, it was this April, even. This April, they announced a game called Cat Girl Without Salad. Uh-huh. And I was so excited because it was like my dream game. Yeah. It was actually done by an artist who I knew personally, who worked on Teenage Pokemon, actually. Yeah. So I was so excited for her. I didn't know she was working for Way Forward. And then it was Lindsay Collins, that's right. Yeah. Lynn Spot. And it was an action, shooting, dancing, like role-playing game. And I was like, that's going to be the best game ever. Then everyone else told me it was an April Fool's joke. And I was like, no, it's not. And that's the last I've heard about it. I wonder what's going on with that. Salad.
I wonder. I would play that game in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. So many questions came in because you are a popular person. Yeah. Bit Crusher 23 asks, were you disappointed that you could not do the singing parts for your role in the anime K-On?
Oh, yeah. You know, for people who don't know, this is a Japanese show, an anime that revolves around girls who sing in a band. And part of the reason I was cast in that role was because they like my YouTube stuff. They like my YouTube singing. So basically they said, hey, be in this anime. Who do you want to be? And that never happens again. That doesn't happen. So, so basically I got to tell them which character I preferred. And, of course, the choice was up to them. And the plan was to sing the songs in English. But as it turns out, those songs are very popular in Japan, like chart toppers, and it's very hard to get the licensing for that kind of thing. And they tried. They really, really did try. So the consolation for not being able to put them in the show was doing DVD extras with a couple of the songs. So if you buy the DVDs, you'll see they have music videos for English versions of 2 of the songs that we did. And also they had us travel around the U.S. singing the songs in Japanese in front of audiences at festivals and conventions. So that was really an amazing experience. That was 2010 through 2011, I believe.
Wow, so you've been on tour before, kind of?
Kind of, yeah.
Wow.
With groupies and everything. Like? Just kidding.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Sounds incredible. Yeah, sounds incredible. Have you ever thought of just having a band that plays out separately? Just a separate kind of concert recording?
You know, I would love to do more singing. That's just, you know, I'm always planning for it, but then I get so busy. But earlier this year, we had a band, me and Christine, the girl I was telling you about before, and a couple of people who we work with a lot. We all got together and we played one show at Anime Expo. And it was our first and last show so far. We haven't got together since, but yeah. I play the drums in I didn't sing, though. I played the drums in that. So it was fun.
Drums is so hard. Really?
Yeah. I've been playing drums since 6th grade. For a long time.
No way.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite drummers?
I was never hardcore, so I don't really know.
That's okay. I was just, it's funny you would mention it because when you were talking before about having a little band that played once and it went well, I was thinking, what if you were the lead singer in like an appropriation of baby metal? Like a Western baby metal. And they have awesome drums. They have like Slayer-style double bass.
Yeah. I'm too old for that, though. They're like 10. They're like 10 and 11 years old. I love them, though. I love that
true.
song.
They are very...
Bing, bing, bing. Ohio, baby. Do, do, do. I love that song. It pumps me up. Gets me ready to start my day.
I would not turn your version of Baby Metal down just because you were in your 20s. I wouldn't say I can't listen to music from 20-year-olds. I would love.
How about
20s
metal? No, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. But you know what?
Kawaii metal?
Kawaii. Yeah, I would do something like that.
Kawaii's not too played out yet.
I don't think so.
I think Oprah said it once. So.
Oh, she did.
Once Oprah says it, I think so.
I think it's in the dictionary, the English dictionary now.
I'm ignoring all the other questions like a jerk. I feel bad. I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh, yes, I was. Oh,
Please do.
Yeah. One of my secret dreams, you know the kind of dream that you daydream when you're in the shower singing, is to be in a... Do you know that... I don't know if you're familiar with a concert series called... What is it called? It's in Japan. Anna Go. Somebody in the comments. No, it's not Anna Go. Like Animathon. I don't know. It's one of the big ones that they have for the voice actors and people who worked on the anime shows, and they sing all their songs in this huge concert, and thousands of people watch.
Sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I know what I want you to be in. I want Nintendo to hire you to do singing and voice acting for the next Rhythm Heaven, which is sure to come out in 3 years. You would be so good at that.
Oh my
gosh. You would
gosh.
be an amazing Rhythm Heaven person.
Did
you play Rhythm Heaven on the DS at all?
Yeah.
The fan club song was okay, but compared to the Japanese version.
Hey now, here is my song for you. Yeah, that's right.
Not that they did a fine job. I think you could do an even better job. That's what I would hire.
I would love to be part of that. In fact, I have 46 medals in Rhythm Heaven Fever. Yes.
That's almost. Isn't there like only 50 or 51?
Yep, I'm almost done.
That's amazing.
I just need to beat that remix 10. What happens? What happens? Okay, don't tell me. No.
It's
pretty good. Unlock the special porn version that's floating around the internet?
No, but you do unlock some games you can't play any
More
other way.
games.
So they actually reward you for getting all the medals. No, I'm sorry. I got all the medals, but I didn't. You have to get perfects on everything.
Never mind. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I just can't because, the button will get stuck or... there's... No, sorry, Nintendo. You're making it impossible. Impossible.
Some Brazilian lad did it and sent me a video of it. I can send it to you. That's the advantage of working for Destructoid. Lads from across the world will send you videos of them playing video games, and sometimes they're great. Bob the Cat Lowell asks, has there been a line that's been so awkward you couldn't help but laugh? And if so, do you remember what that line was? Awkwardly written, I'm assuming he means. Or maybe just the situation was awkward. That could be too.
In BlazBlue, which is a fighting game from Japan, they have a story mode, and one of my characters is really crazy into her brother. She's a clone, so maybe it's okay. She's a clone of the sister to this guy named Ragna, and she's a robot, so maybe that makes it okay too. But she's really all up in his business. And there are some scenes that kind of simulate sex, but with swords. And just one of those scenes, I think in the third game, or second game, I don't remember, I laughed so hard. We all just laughed, and we just had to take a break because it was just so amazingly weird and also a little bit interesting. So ever since that was like the pinnacle of weirdness for me. Now everything I just expect it. Like I just did a game where my character sniffs panties all the time, and I'm like, yeah, it's anime. I got this.
I was going to ask about that because I've done sex scenes of my own choosing for my cartoon for comedic effect. When a guy does a sex scene, most often, not always though, I saw an anime sex scene with two men involving pepperoni and
very progressive.
Just a lot of pizza. Yeah, it was, and they sounded like they were putting the effort in with wow.
Well,
right there.
No.
And
Well, you know what they say about female fighting game sounds? They all sound like sex scenes.
they do, and
No matter what.
part of that I think is men. That could be horny people projecting what they are thinking about already. Yeah, but when you're having to do like an erotic scene, do you have to stay glued to that? Like, well, I'm gonna make someone feel sexy now. Maybe I'm gonna sexify their brain, or do you kind of cut yourself off from it, and how do you keep from laughing too? So many questions about that.
You know, at first, like I said, that was the first time I've done a sex scene like that. And that was really, I was like, all right, I got that out of my system. Now every other time something like that comes up, it's really just acting. And it's so routine. You know what I mean? Of course, you want it to sound realistic, but everybody's, they've seen it again and again. And you've done it by this point many times. So it's just like, all right, let's do this. And you do it. And you blush a little, and then you move on with the game or the anime. So it gets easier, guys. It only hurts the first time.
It sounds like you stay true to the overall creative vision out of respect to the creators and also the viewers, and not think too much about how you might be making people feel all funny. Yeah. I personally would feel weird about that, but I suppose you have to let go of the fact that you don't know how people are going to take your work and how it's going to make them feel necessarily, and all you can do is your best and move on. Yeah. You be true to the scene and you be true to the character, and then after that it's best just to forget about it and move on to the next project until it's released and you can celebrate. And I do this thing where I release it on my Twitter, and not everybody does that. And I have a fan page and I post pictures, and that's kind of my celebration for that character. But other than that, even after an audition, it's just I try to forget about it and you go do other things that are fun in life. Yeah. That makes sense. You've done some cosplay too, speaking of fan page. You did a mean Psylocke and also Alyssa from Tekken. Is that something you've been interested in a while, or is that usually around characters that you're playing, or is it just for fun?
When I was younger, like 12, I did do a little bit of cosplay just for fun when, the con scene was barely sprouting up. This was a while ago. So, it's not something that I don't consider myself a career cosplayer, and there are reasons for that too. But the Alyssa Boskanovich one, they didn't tell me I was going to be cosplaying as her. I just finished my session on Tekken Blood Vengeance, and they're like, all right, go to see Christine. She's going to measure you for your Alyssa cosplay. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So that was really cool, and that costume was so beautifully made. Everything, every detail, they just got it right. And I did the same for K-On! And for Haruhi Suzumiya. And the Psylocke was purely, that's just something I wanted to do. So I wore that costume maybe once or twice because you can't wear that in public. Well, you can, but I can't because I freak out. So, but that costume was interesting because I posted a picture of that on my Facebook, the Psylocke one, and I had a photoshopped Psyblade. And then I go on Yahoo, and it's like, best Comic-Con cosplay, and I was the thumbnail, and I was like, oh, hey. I got most realistic at Comic-Con, which I find funny because, one, it was photoshopped. Two, I didn't even go to Comic-Con that year. So thanks, Yahoo.
But you looked the part. You did very well.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was very believable.
I love
Panic
that
Buttons.
Yes.
Yeah. I hope to see it again. Panic Buttons asks. Sorry about that. After the IGN, you disappeared from the League of Legends scene. We loved your performance there, so I was wondering if you might ever come back to any events or try for other champions besides Riven to give your voice. Yeah.
You know what?
Have you given that much thought?
Oh, yes, I have. And here's the thing. I wasn't working with Riot. I was working with IGN, with IPL, and they're the ones who hired me. And is that my cat? My cat's playing with the lights. They're the ones who hired me, and I was so happy to be part of that, and I love it so much. But after IPL disbanded, and I'd expressed my interest to Riot that, I'd love to come back and voice more characters for you. I'd love to host your events. But that's their decision on their part to bring me back. And I know that they have their own people already that they've been using. And it is kind of like, I think IPL is maybe kind of a rival organization because, it does overlap tournament scenes. But, if they want me back, I will be there. And, of course, I still have my account, and I'll log on from time to time and play some casual games. But, I think also part of it is that because I have my name associated with a character, that could also be part of the reason why they don't want me to come back, because it's so important to be kind of a chameleon in voiceover acting so that you can play many other characters. But I think by associating so closely with Riven that I kind of became Riven. I know some people call that character Cristina Vee instead of Riven. So so they're definitely it's kind of an interesting situation. Riot knows that I'd love to come back anytime they'd have me. And there's also a Riven bathroom at the Riot headquarters, so you all know. And that makes me happy.
There's a
Unrelated.
What now?
Bathroom.
There's a Riven bathroom?
Yes.
What is the Riven bathroom like?
It's glorious. It has her splash art on a wall, and I was so excited.
Wow.
And I made good use.
I could put your voice in there. That's amazing.
I would love
for your voice to tell me to wash my hands or flush the toilet.
Yeah.
That'd be so motivating as Riven. Footsweep asks, and you're getting so fun to see you get questions from so many different types of from an audience that's so varied.
Yes.
People that know you from League of Legends, people know you from BlazBlue. There's a BlazBlue question. BlazBlue Chrono Phantasma just got released in Japan for the PS3. Any word if you're returning as Noel again? You probably can't talk about it, or can you?
You know what? I cannot talk about it until it's released here. So I cannot offer any. I can either confirm or deny, or offer any opinion until I either get the okay, or until it's released here. So I think it's coming out soon. So watch my Twitter page for any possible updates. People know I do not live
without announcing.
Huh? Oh, I was
you
going to say
did a great job of not saying anything.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Keep talking. Great job. Streaming for Vengeance 88 asks, when you record for BlazBlue, do you ever get to hang out with Toshimichi Mori, or better yet, Daisuke Ishiwatari? And if so, what are they like?
We don't get to record with them. Interesting story, though. Ragna actually directed me on one of the games. That was cool. But no, because Ragna is one of the characters, and so his voiceover actor is also a director. So he got to direct me on some games. Yeah. But I have met those two at Anime Expo the first year that the first BlazBlue came out, and they were very sweet. That was the year I almost got trampled to death by a mob of fans who wanted a free T-shirt. That was scary. There's footage of it on YouTube if you look it up. But they're very nice. They just said, I like your new voice. Like, thank you. And that was all our language barrier could get across. But yeah, they seem really awesome. And of course, I love their games. So yeah.
Sure. The BlazBlue audience, from what I know, is pretty passionate. Would you say that do you keep track of, at least mentally on some level, what roles get you the most attention and what seems to be drawing in the most fans?
Yeah, I mean, it becomes obvious right away and I'm not sure what really makes a distinction of those roles, what makes something really stand out like that. BlazBlue, I had no idea. I just knew it was a fighting game, and I was fulfilling a dream of mine. But when it came out and got such a huge response, it was a complete surprise. So you never know which roles are going to give you, which role people are going to connect to and follow you for. So you just do your best on every role that you get.
Yeah, the passion, and that's a lot of these projects. The Tekken fan base can be very passionate as well, in the League of Legends.
Yeah.
Base, obviously, of course. Would you say there's one game you get more attention for than the others?
Yes. I get a lot of BlazBlue and League of Legends love, as is apparent in the questions that we're getting. People are very interested about those two titles. in particular. So.
What do you think is about BlazBlue? Because there's a lot of fighting games out there at this point. There was kind of a died down and then it resurged big. And BlazBlue, a lot of people thought, oh, well, it's the new Guilty Gear, but there's not as many characters because it's all new series. There was a lot of people not totally in love with it in theory. And then in practice, when it came out, I feel like the fan base, not just about the game itself, but the lore behind it, is even more passionate than the Guilty Gear fans were.
Yeah.
People just love those characters and the stories. What do you think it is about BlazBlue that has captured their imaginations like that?
I think it's because it came so out of left field. There hadn't been a 2D animated fighter in a while at this point when it was released. So against the Street Fighters and the Mortal Kombats, you have this kind of more traditional looking style. And like you said, I think it was one of the first games to have a really fleshed out storyline, as opposed to just kind of like, the arcade mode, you get a cutscene. But this was a full-on hours of gameplay that's just going through the story for every character. I think that, and plus the characters are so interesting, just the relationships that Noelle has with Ragna, who she may or may not be with Jin, who's kind of this crazy guy. And I think that has really appealed to a lot of the fan base, especially people coming from an anime background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a lot of ways it was one of the first fighting games to really deeply take the next level of embracing so many things people get out of anime, which is beautiful 2D artwork, and also just a huge interconnecting intersocial world with tons of lore and tons of relationships to explore and dynamics to explore. Something about anime that does that for people that other things don't necessarily do.
Yeah.
Huh. We just figured out BlazBlue and anime. That was fun.
Yeah. There's now a BlazBlue anime too. So.
Do you just want to dance and sing for the rest of the show? Because you're naturally good at it. And here I am talking. I feel like I'm wasting everyone's time.
I'm not a good dancer at all. You should ask anybody who knows.
Those are awesome arm dances.
I can be a. Do you know what para is? It was like big in Japan for a while. There's a game called Para Paradise. Yeah. You go dun 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 dun. It's terrible Para, by the way, but.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
It was, they had it in arcades for a little while.
Yes.
And it was like Dance Dance Revolution for your arms.
With your arms. I was really big into Dance Dance Revolution. DDR. I was cool.
I can see that.
I was so cool.
Do you like do you like Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah. I have a sex bomb.
I can see you
on my car. Some guy was like yesterday at the drive-thru, he was like, "Hey, that's sex bomb." I was like, "Yeah." And then I gave him a fist bump.
What a lucky guy.
That's a true story.
I'd love to see you play characters. I would love to see you play characters from Scott Pilgrim someday, because that's not going to die. That'll come back in cartoon form and game form, I'm sure. The movie's getting a resurgence of popularity, I've heard recently, which is fun. More questions. I'm sorry, yes?
Scott Pilgrim story.
Yes, please.
Brian Lee O'Malley's a Skullgirls fan, and so he gave me a shout out on Twitter, and I was like, yeah. And also, they're having a screening at the Egyptian Theater a few months ago, and me and Christine, she's like an integral part of my life. We went dressed up as Ramona and Knives, and he took a picture of us, and I was like, hey, it's me again, chick from Skullgirls, surprise. And he posted that on Twitter too, so we were both on cloud 9 that day.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, were you Knives or Ramona?
I'm Ramona.
Gotcha. I could see you doing either one very well. Anytime. Conical Newt asks, have you read the book Voiceover Voice Actor? I have not myself. I've never even heard of it. Have you?
Yeah, it's by Yuri Lowenthal in Terraplat. And no, I haven't read it because I'm afraid once I open it, I'm going to start reading all the things I've been doing wrong. And I figure I have a little system worked out in my head. Maybe I'll consult that if I need to, but I think I'd rather live in my own bubble where I think I'm doing everything okay. But Those guys are really cool people too. So that's my reason for not reading it, which is a terrible reason. And I hear it's a great book, so you should read it and buy it.
It is, I'm sure, a great book, but it's not a terrible reason. I think we need to hold on to our confidence in any way that we can, or else we will totally give up. If I watch too many, like, bald glasses interviewing guys that are way better than me, I'll just be like, the world doesn't need another one of those. I quit. And when I was doing that Teenage Pokemon cartoon, I refused to watch Bravest Warriors and Bee and Puppy Cat, even though I know they're awesome. But I would just give up and be like, world doesn't need
it takes a special kind of psychosis to be an artist. It's like, all right, for today I'm going to believe I'm the best in the whole world.
Yeah, and then afterwards edit yourself and hate yourself and pick at yourself to the point where hopefully you get better without picking so much that you just give up.
You suffer for your art. You suffer. You suffer.
Are you sure you don't want to just talk and sing some more and not me talk? Because it's fun when you act. I feel like
I'm a kitty cat. And I dance, and I dance. Yep. I'm a kitty cat. And I dance. Oh, she's gonna hit me. I love you. I love you. You know that song? Oh no, I'm a stupid cat. It's the best day ever again. There's a lot of cuss words, so I won't say it.
That's very polite of you. There are the questions, though. Darn it. Reinhold Hoffman, thank you for the question. I didn't mean to darn at you. I'm glad you asked it. Is there a specific fighting game character you would love to give a voice to?
Yes.
Are there other characters? Yeah, there is. Who is it?
There is. There's a new chick who just came out in Dead or Alive. I think her name is Marie, and she's like the gothic Lolita girl. And I'm claiming her because she hasn't been voiced yet, I don't think.
Really?
So I'm using.
That'd be perfect.
I would love to.
That'd be perfect in a lot of different ways.
I mean, of course, I mean, you can't just say, like, hey, I want to be this character. No, of course, you have to know the people who are directing the game, and they have to audition you. Then you have to be chosen by them and the producers. But I would love to be part of the Dead or Alive franchise or any new character in Street Fighter. I would be very happy if I landed a role in either of those, even in Tekken, because I'm Alyssa in the movie, but I'm not Alyssa in the game. So I would love to be in the games that I grew up playing. Would be awesome.
Did Alyssa have an English voice actor in the game?
A funny story about that, she didn't until Tekken versus Street Fighter, or Street Fighter versus Tekken. And Street Fighter versus Tekken was being recorded at another studio simultaneously with Tekken Blood Vengeance. So they didn't know that they're casting the same characters twice. So what ended up happening was, hey, I'm Alyssa Voskanovich. And she's like, no, I'm Alyssa Voskanovich. Like, I think we...
Yeah, was it like you both wore the same dress to the prom sort of feeling?
I think it was kind of like that. I mean, she's a very sweet woman, Michelle Knotts, and it's totally fine, but it was just kind of like this weird, who was her first? Doesn't really matter because they're both recorded. But, yeah.
Yeah, what a weird choice continuity-wise. I wonder if it was because they were doing them both at the same time and they didn't think they could hire you to do both.
I think it was different publishers because Tekken Blood Vengeance was Bandai. And that was an interesting audition, though, because they had all the producers and creators fly down from Japan to watch the callbacks. And so it was a little scary. But also awesome.
Terrifying. Yeah.
Well, it's terrifying. But they liked
what you did.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. They were really quiet, like, the entire time. There were like 7 of them, just Japanese businessmen, just watching me perform. And they were completely dead silent. And I was like, oh my gosh, I suck. And then after the end, I came by and I said, I wanted to say thank you. And I just said thank you, and I bowed a little bit. And they're like, oh, God. I don't know what I did. I'm going to do that every time. So it was great. It was a really interesting experience to have to audition in front of that many people and not getting anything back from them. So, but yeah, I was really happy when I landed that role because I knew who it was, even though it was confidential. I knew it was from Tekken right off the bat.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think you'd be awesome as that new gothic Lolita Dead or Alive woman. Maybe you should try out for her right now for the viewers. You've seen her. You have an idea of how she would sound. How would
I need some lines.
Like, I will feed you a line.
Okay.
Is it okay if I just tell it to you, or do I need to write it down?
Oh, you can feed it to me. I'm just gonna pull up a picture of her again.
Sure, take it down. The line is
She's
going
so
to be...
cute. Oh, and she has a Psylocke cosplay. Oh, no, it's not. This is a maid. Looks like Psylocke, though. Okay.
Oh. How about... These cookies don't come cheap. You better work.
These cookies don't come cheap. You better work. I'm looking at a picture of her right now. So if I'm like spaced out, it's because I'm looking at a picture of her.
No, it's perfect. How about no bunk beds, no thanks.
No bunk beds, no thanks.
So slightly disaffected, but just a little bit of consideration for... She's trying to sound polite, but she's truly unemotional about that. This is a lot of fun. I could do this all day. I'll do one more. I won't eat at Burger King. Not deep fried enough.
I won't eat at Burger King. Not deep fried enough. That's my take.
Can we just be best friends forever? But our friendship involves me
feeding me lines,
just listening to you say things. Yeah, that's it. I mean, we can have a real friendship too, but man.
In fact, I do it all the time to my friends, even though they don't ask me to.
I will feed you, and you can feed me lines too, and shoot me down. I wish I could hire you to listen to my acting. We have a new Teenage Pokemon coming up. I'm not so sure the acting is good. It's kind of too late, though, because the animator's finishing up this week. If only I'd known you before and paid you to tell me. Maybe next time.
You know, I was just in
Johnny
Pokemon.
Luchador asks. Yeah.
Oh, I was just in Pokemon Origins. So you could
say that again?
I'm in Pokemon Origins.
What? You're in Pokemon Origins? You're kidding. Who do you play?
I play a bunch of the smaller characters, but they're Pokemon, so...
What Pokemon do you play? Do you remember?
I play Cubone in episode 2.
So good. Can you do a Cubone talk for me?
What? Okay. She went... It was such an interesting voice to find. We tried to... Because they don't say Cubone or anything. They just have growls and grunts. Her cry was...
yeah.
Her cry was a... She grunts a lot too. She goes.
Having the best life. Johnny Luchador. I should get back to questions. We have a few minutes left. Johnny Luchador, who is also streams right after our show. Stay tuned for his show.
Stay tuned for Johnny Luchador's show. It's live.
He would do well to grab that and use that. Have you ever considered doing radio voiceover work, he asks. Oh, are you okay?
I'm good. I just karate chopped my string. I'm good. Radio voiceover work. I will do any voiceover work. I think I've done...
Radio isn't as hot as it used to be.
You know, I haven't done any... I was thinking about ads that I've done, but I haven't done radio ads yet. I haven't branched out to that yet, but I will. Give me time.
Yeah, I hope you do. BitCrusher23 asks, would you do a role that was out of your usual range, similar to Laura Bailey as Shin-Chan?
Oh, I've been really lucky in that I do get roles that are very varied. Recently, for some reason, I've been typecast as the emotionally disturbed girl. This works for me. But I do get to play characters these days that kind of drop into the deeper register, or just completely insanely goofy characters. So I'm really lucky that people trust me with a whole range of characters rather than just being typecast as one certain girl type.
Awesome. Yeah, a deeper register. I'm curious about how you go about doing that. Could you give us a sample of your deeper register?
Burger King is not deep fried enough for me. That was bad. That was bad. I do better. I do better when I'm
I thought it was very good, and I imagine you could do even better with not being on a live stream with strangers. But it sounded great to me.
Thanks. Yeah, I get those. I'm really happy to get those deeper roles, because It's just something new to explore.
I would imagine. Sure, you must be excited to show people and yourself all the things you're capable of doing, and to take on new challenges, take new risks. Let's see. Z2400 asks, Christina, what was the strangest role for you?
Strangest.
You talked about it already.
Strange. That's interesting. Oh, I knew I had a good story for this, but I can't remember making a mental list. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, you've already done Cubone, a panty-sniffing person.
That's right, panty sniffer.
A robot who has a detachable head. You've already had so many amazing roles. Noelle, and the clones who are of Ragnar's sisters, who have maybe emotions for him.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting territory that is. Sure, you've already taken on so many strange roles. Is there another, maybe not strangest, but at least a strange role?
Actually, I just repped for one of the strangest video games, I think, in existence. I can't say anything about it, but I think everybody will be happy, and I'll be able to talk about it then. So, yeah, I've done some pretty strange stuff, and I'm happy for it, and I love it. It's the best.
Yeah. Absolutely. I hope it never ends for you. You deserve all the strange roles.
Thank you.
R. Xanadu, it's true. R. Xanadu asks, what do you think of physical actors who do specific voices for games such as Ray Liotta as Tommy Vercetti from Grand Theft Auto Vice City? And you've seen that all around, where Hollywood has noticed that video games are making more money than movies.
Yes.
A lot of them are trying to, like Kiefer Sutherland taking on Snake.
Yeah.
I'd love to get your opinion on that as well. What do you think of that whole thing?
It does make me kind of nervous, because I feel like in order to get to those AAA games, and it's not true because there are so many voiceover actors who get these roles, but it does feel like there's a shift happening, and I really hope that they realize that people don't care about the actor, they care about the voice of the character. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with with Disney films, how they're using film actors who, it's just another paycheck, maybe. I don't want to generalize them, but I just hope that it doesn't become something permanent in the industry, because I think that they're missing out so much from not hiring people like Tara Strong or Maurice LaMarche, who are true character voiceover actors. Kat, you're making a lot of noise.
That totally worked.
Kat?
For a second.
One second. Did you hear that, though, the bottle crunching?
I did. You can get away with it.
Just because she's cute.
Did you ever watch Akira growing up?
Yeah.
That movie changed my life. That acting, the streamlined version of the dubbing. Unknown actors, more famous to me than any other actor at this point.
Yeah.
The challenge they had to get those lines. I've talked about this, I think, before on the show. I can only imagine how it felt to be given the script, and they're like, okay, so now you have to say what that pea brain.
What that pea. You know what? I haven't seen the streamlined dub. I've seen the newer dub, but I will check it out now that I know it's awesome.
Well, it is awe-inspiring. It'll fill you with awe. With the challenge that the actors had that they had to take on. It had some big-name voice actors in it, too. But it's just impossible to read those lines and not sound ridiculous. Those poor people feel badly for them. We only have a minute left. Here I am talking about Akira. Yeah, I know. That went by pretty fast for me. Yeah, it does. As soon as we get to know each other, get comfortable talking to each other loosely, then it ends. But I hope you come back on again. Sounds like you have a lot of projects that you could potentially talk about. That'd be a lot of fun. We'll be like old friends at that point.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wanted to sing? Maybe, let's try this. You can promote your Twitter and your fan page, and I'll let people know how they can watch the show, and then we can do a singing closer. That would be so nice.
What are we going to sing?
That with Jeff Luke sang, too. He would be the second Way Forward affiliated person to sing on their way out.
What did he sing?
Double Dragon Neon. He sang his Double Dragon song. So they can follow you on Twitter at Cristina Vee. Is that right?
Cristina. Cristina Vee.
Right. VEE.
VEE.
And your VEE. And your page, your web page is?
It's Cristina Vee -artist on Facebook. If you could give me a like, I'd really appreciate it. Just having that support, it really shows even casting directors that people are supportive of my work, and it would be really helpful if you enjoy it, if you can give it a like. And I have a website, but it just has my demos and stuff. It's CristinaVee.com. You don't have to visit that one.
That sounds worthwhile. They all sound good, and I hope that people are so taken by your read of the live action. They start a campaign for you to voice act that new character from Dead or Alive, because that would be fantastic.
But of course, I'll support anyone who gets that role.
Right, of course. But it would be nice if the producers at Tecmo Koei, right? Does Dead or Alive? I think so. If they saw that the huge fan base you have would help them to sell more lives, they should hire you. I hope they do that. As for me, I'm at Tron Knots on Twitter. You can follow me if you want to know more about the show and other things that are happening that I do. iTunes, you can listen to this again on iTunes. Just look up Sub Holmes iTunes on Google. And Destructoid's YouTube channel plays the reruns every week. I think we're heading towards our 90th episode.
Whoa, congratulations. Like Riven.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Documented forever.
So now what do you want to sing to close us out?
How about Adventure Time, Hey Ice King, Why'd You Steal My Garbage? Rainicorn song.
I didn't ask. Did you sang the opening theme and the Rainicorn song? Anything else on that?
I sang a couple of the track listings, like there's a scary forest and things like that, and I only sang the first 30 seconds of the theme song. If you want me to sing the theme song, I can do that. Yeah.
No, sing whatever you like. Sing the Rainicorn song. That sounds perfect.
Okay. Let's go flying on a rainicorn above the ground. I can't look down. I've been waiting on a rainicorn to sweep me up and show me all the sights above the clouds. As the atmosphere is rushing by, see the world up high. Can't believe my eyes. Wanna rush to the end. And I'll say goodbye to all the drama. In a moment, I'll find a way. Today, a hero is made. And I hope the player continues to play. I forgot words.